Imagine, if you will, your first trip to Sentosa Island. You're a local Singaporean resident, and you've just completed your 11-hour-a-day work week, and you're ready to spend your well-deserved and valuable time on the island. Upon arriving, you immediately queue up for the Mega Zip Adventure Park. You stand in the queue for 20 minutes. Upon getting to the front of the queue, you realize that the attraction costs $35, and that this is probably out of your price range, so you decide to pursue other options. However, when attempting to navigate through the park, you realize that it's difficult to find your way around, and you become frustrated and you aren't able to maximize your time on the island. This is not an optimal customer experience. Therefore, today, we are recommending that you gamify the Sentosa Lens app in order to better engage customers and increase your Islander membership, and centralize your CRM system in order to get a holistic and well-rounded view of the overall customer experience on Sentosa Island. Hello, Sentosa Board of Directors. My name is Robin, and these are my colleagues Carlos and Kyle. And today we're going to help you achieve your goal of doubling the Islander membership rate, the Islander memberships, and successfully executing your integrated customer engagement strategy over the long term.
Sentosa currently has two business goals. One, to turn around the Islander membership program that has been facing difficulties, and two, to get a 360-degree view of the customer, to understand them, and better generate targeted promotions. The challenges in place for this are as follows. First is attracting people to the Islanders membership program. Second is keeping them in the program. On the other side, on the engagement aspect, the first issue is the issue of the IT architecture. So what architecture do you follow for the ICE project? Also, what value really lies behind analytics? Our recommendation today addresses each one of these issues. Gamification is targeted towards lowering the attrition rate. A marketing campaign will be launched in order to increase the number of subscribers. The architecture will follow with a CRM solution, and the analytics will be implemented through BI and Live Labs integration.
So before we get too far into our recommendation, let's take a look at all of the key stakeholders that are involved in this situation. We have listed all the external and internal stakeholders up on the screen here. I'm going to highlight two of them to you in specific. The first is the Sentosa partners. These are the people who are running the independent attractions as well as retail outlets on the island. What they want right now is to engage their customers and increase sales. I mean, when we visited the island, a lot of these attractions really had nobody inside and nobody was using them. So this has to change. The second group that I'd like to highlight is the local visitors. These people are currently very frustrated with the island just because they feel it's overly expensive and hard to get around. Especially when they're such busy people, they don't want to spend time waiting in queues or finding their way around the island. So let's jump into our first recommendation, and that is to increase the membership in the Islander membership card program through gamification as well as a marketing campaign. So firstly, let's look at the targets that you've set. You want to double the Islander membership by the end of the year, as well as cut in half the attrition rate. We believe that these goals are totally feasible based on the numbers that are given to us. So if you look at this, we want to decrease the attrition rate to 4.2%, the monthly attrition rate to 4.2%, as well as convert 3 of 100 local visitors each month to the program. This is based on what we found in the Deloitte Consulting Report, that 70% of travelers are members of at least one loyalty program, and 30% are members of at least 2. This is the best information we could find to support this, that you'll achieve these goals. So what you'll first do is gamification of the Sentosa Lens mobile app. Currently, this app is targeted towards children. We're recommending that you alter it to target all visitors to the park. Since Singaporeans are so addicted to their mobile games on their iPhones and iPads, we recommend that you do that on the Sentosa Lens app. So basically, the visitors will download the app. They can then complete quests around the island at different attractions by scanning QR codes at those attractions and gaining coins. These coins can then be redeemed for different rewards at different attractions around the island. The goal here is to encourage them to explore attractions that they would not normally go to, and also tell them about the Islander card discounts when they go to these attractions. So let's take a look at an example. This is a gamification of a quest that you would launch at Siloso Beach in July. Since this is one of the most popular areas for Singaporeans, it's the prime place to start. So say a guest goes to the Wave House. When they get there, they'll scan the QR code that is there and also be approached by a staff member who will tell them about the benefits that they can get by joining the Islander Card program, and then they'll also get their coins, of course, from scanning the QR code. They can then redeem these coins in a different area of the island to encourage them to go to more than just one area. This will also facilitate their navigation around the island as they'll know where they're going based on where they can get rewards.
From a marketing perspective, I would like to highlight two things. First, that having ambassadors is incredibly important. This can be either customers or employees. Customers must be given incentives to become ambassadors for the app and the brand by, for example, giving them coins for referrals. Employees are also incredibly important because unlike most other businesses, your target market is already in your site. Your target market are the locals that are in Sentosa Island. So you know where they are already. And who are they interacting with? Your employees. When we were in Sentosa, we asked 5 people about the application, and none of them knew what to do with it. This leads me to the importance of the marketing blitz. When a customer enters Sentosa, whether it be by monorail or boardwalk, the first thing they should see is the value of the Islander membership as well as the application. How are we going to do this? By adding market collateral everywhere. So if you buy a ticket, it says so right in the ticket, buy the app, here's the QR code, here's where you download it. If you step out of the monorail, the first thing in the post, what's going to be? It's going to be the app telling you to download it. And when you go to the washroom, yeah, that's right, it's going to be right there waiting for you as well. It is important to note that the freemium model will be the approach for this application. So if you are not, if you're not an Islander, then you get only a specific set of features. If you're an Islander, then you go all the way, and you get all of the perks, including the ability to trade in coins for perks.
So now let's take a look at the ICE project proposal. This is what we're proposing your system landscape look like. On the left-hand side, you have your existing CRM system, but what's important is that you're integrating all the point-of-sale systems throughout the island. So not only will you have the tax and the Sentosa Development Corporation feeding into the CRM system, but you'll also have the independent operators feeding into the system as well. From there, you'll move the data into the data warehouse, and you'll be able to perform analytical processing and use different BI tools to create, to have aggregated insights of what the real customer experience is on the island. On the lower left-hand side, you'll see the Live Labs intervention engine. So this is going to be incorporating the demographic data coming from your CRM, as well as the location-based data that's coming from the different Wi-Fi access points throughout the island. So when you can combine these two different types of data, you're able to make highly targeted promotions that are extremely timely as well. So when people are walking by different retail outlets, they'll be targeted with highly specific promotions.
The value of analytics is also very important. So, for example, if you have analytics, you will be able to ask particular questions. You can set the top, more of the basic level of analytics, a statistical analysis. Is there really a gap between the foreigner's behavior compared to the local behavior? Or looking at trends. What will happen if this trend continues or stops? More advanced analytics will allow you to ask more complex questions, such as, what will happen if I open an attraction in this particular area of the island? Will it drive or deter traffic? Same with optimization. This entire project is expected to cost between $2.5 and $2.8 million altogether, and it will be over 18 months. This includes the cost for labor, for consulting, for software, and it is worth noting that negotiations are incredibly important, and this can vary greatly. The milestones in this case will be, initial quests will be released in October 2013. This is doable because the app is already in place. And then the CRM in 2014, and finally advanced analytics will be in January 2015. You will immediately be able to engage islanders so that you can take full advantage right from the get-go.
So let's take a look at a high-level overview of our implementation plan for these two projects. So as you can see on the screen here, we have the 8-month project, which includes increasing the Islander membership. And then on the other side, you'll see the ICE project. So in terms of high level, what you want to do is firstly mobile gamification. You'll start that right away. So you'll contact your vendor and let them know of the changes you want to make and work with them to adapt these changes to the island. Next, you'll do the Islander card Islander card marketing. So this will involve, firstly, combining your 2 Facebook pages. You currently have 2 Facebook pages. That's very confusing for guests. So you combine these and then launch marketing campaigns that are specific to locals. These include about Siloso Beach, beach parties, barbecues, whatever's popular to locals, you will launch those. Lastly is the ICE projects. The most important thing here to remember is that you launch these, is that you speak to the individual Sentosa retailers before you launch the project to make sure you fully explain the long-term benefits to them of live labs, as well as them being able to promote their product to the customers as they travel nearby to it. So let's take a look at the 3 to 5 year vision. As you can see on the screen here, on the left side is our recommendation. We believe that it directly addresses the objectives that you have discussed with us. So you can see the objectives on the right side and our recommendation on the left side.
So now let's take a look at the enhanced customer experience. So immediately upon arriving on the island, you'll be prompted to download the Sentosa Lens app. You'll quickly and easily scan the QR code and download the app, whereby you'll be encouraged to go on your first quest. On the way there, you'll be targeted with different Live Labs intervention engine promotions from the different retailers along the way. And throughout your ownership of the app, you'll be promoted with different Islander membership discounts. So by centralizing your CRM system and gamifying your mobile application, you'll be able to achieve your target of doubling the number of Islander memberships by the end of 2013 and incorporating your integrated customer engagement strategy over the long term. Thank you.
Hi. I would say I like the proposal a lot. One question is that I think there's focus on attracting maybe the younger crowds, right? So gamification and all that. How about for the older folks? Do you plan to even focus on that?
Well, we believe that the main attractions for Singaporeans in general, particularly adults, is dining, shopping, and things of those natures, and things such as beach parties. These are things that adults can enjoy. So we believe that by promoting this type of content through your social media channels, you'll be able to attract this target market.
In terms of your roadmap, you started off gamification first, then ended with analytics. But games come more very quickly. How is the analytical component coming into the game itself? How are you releasing new quests frequently?
So here we have a little bit more detailed timeline of the implementation of the gamification as well as increasing the Islander membership. So we do understand that games do go out of style very quickly. It really depends on the game and the popularity of the game. We feel that it's not going to be very popular at the very beginning and it will gain traction over time. So by the end of December 2013, it should just be starting to go up upwards based on the quests that you've released and people telling their friends about it. So based on this implementation, you'll be able to then move into analytics. So in the long term, you notice that you start releasing the business intelligence engines before the end of 2015, and at that same time, you'll also be you'll have information from the quests that you gained over 2014. So we'll be releasing new quests each and every month, and that data can be input into the engine to predict future behavior. Even if the quests are unpopular by the end of January 2015, you'll have the information from previously that's available from the quests.
What about the partner venues that are there? How are they involved in this, or are you?
So basically what you're trying to do here is integrate their point of sale data. This is the most important thing because you want it to feed into your centralized CRM system. So in order to do this, you need to create buy-in with all of the independent vendors, and you need to integrate them one by one. This is how it's going to be done most easily because they all have different point of sale systems. So the way you can create buy-in is, if you can go to the system diagram. there's going to be the Live Labs intervention engine that's incorporated with the centralized CRM. So if they're a part of that, then they're going to be able to target customers as they're walking through the island with the Live Labs promotion. If they're not part of the CRM, the centralized CRM, then they won't be able to have a specifically targeted promotion.
It is a matter of awareness mostly. Because if you look in social media, can you guys hear me in the back? I just don't like to thank you. If you look in social media, when you look at the Facebook wall, for example, the only value proposition that's being communicated to the audience is that the Islander program gets unlimited admissions. There is no mention about the perks and the discounts. So we are very certain that that is the main reason why the entire program hasn't taken off yet.
And then we continue with this, how we are going to tackle available. Judges, speak up. My question is, if you continue to use the same channels which we have been using, how we are going to tackle available.
So it's all about the message that you communicate to your audience. So for example, when you look at this one, you have to start communicating more about the discounts, right? So how do you structure the message? It's not about the limited admissions. You have to let them know, come to Santos, become an Islander because of, we have discount, you get discounts, you get a special priority, you get a special app. So it's all about structuring the message. Because you already have an audience in Facebook. You have over 36,000 likes and 3,200 followers in Twitter. So it's all about how you communicate.
You've mentioned in a lot of your plan that centralized CRM centers on island partners' point of sale data being integrated into the system. What happens when some of them ultimately say no?
That won't pose too much of a problem for the for Sentosa Development Corporation. It's really their choice if they want to be integrated into the system or not. The main purpose is to create buy-in. What you really want is to be able to run BI on all this information so that you get a holistic view of your customer experience. This is a big part of your strategy. So there is that downside if you don't get them to buy in, but it's not the end of the world.
Your solution is very mobile-centric. It's very dependent on mobile apps, like the CRM data now. What happens when people don't have a smartphone, or they don't use the mobile phone? How do you collect the statistics? Are there any other channels?
Well, we looked into this data as well. The mobile penetration in Singapore is the highest in the world. It's at 90%. So we will be able to target 90% of Singaporeans. So the other 10%, they will eventually get smartphone as well.
You mentioned that you've got the data on people on Facebook and Twitter following, right? So you've got prospects. How is this prospect data coming into your CRM?
Currently, unstructured data from social media is not being integrated into the CRM. The scope of this project really just focuses on the point of sale system.
The challenge with the point of sale systems is not collecting the unified data which you need because you have different point of sale systems. How are you enforcing them to collect the data that you want?
Well, really, we're not forcing them to collect any specific type of data. We're going to make the most of the data that they collect. So we're not going to say to them, we need you to collect an email address, or we need you to collect an age and a phone number. We're going to make the most of what they have and incorporate it into our system. And really what we're focused on is location, timing, and the amount of money that people are spending. These are the most important things when you want to figure out future direction.
And then just to add on to that, you could also, in the long term, once Live Labs is integrated, since it will be going into its testing phase in 2014, so we're not much sure the outcome will be, but assuming that it goes well, what you'll be able to do is once more people are bought into the mobile apps, and there are also integrated Live Labs, and more people are signed up as Islanders, you'll be able to then make sure that these islanders are then scanning their codes and redeeming the discounts. That way you can track these specific people based on their unique identified membership number.
I'm afraid we have.
Well, since he's sort of special.
Okay.
That's a very simple question. In this solution that you mentioned about this wireless infrastructure, is that Wi-Fi infrastructure very key to the success of the program?
According to our implementation timeline and what we're doing with the apps and mobile, I mean, of course it is important for live labs, but we're assuming that they're going to handle a lot of the Wi-Fi implementation. I mean, it's very simple to go out and implement more Wi-Fi hotspots around the island, and that's going to become with the live labs. It's not part of doing the mobile apps as well as the ICE integration. My name is Kyle, this is Robin, and this is Carlos.
All right, your time starts now.
Yesterday, one of Sentosa's visitors was tested positive for H7N9. Now the question is, how do you balance managing this crisis with not creating a complete public panic? The way we're going to do this is simple. Perhaps luckily, patient 0 belongs to a delegation. These are the first people that should be tested for H7N9. The delegation and all of the staff in Sentosa. Reason being that if these individuals test negative first, then the chances are much less likely that it will spread over to the customers. Now, if the test turns out positive, no need to panic. Essentially, all that is required is a general service announcement, letting individuals know that if you were in Sentosa within a particular time period, to please report to the Ministry of Health. Not Sentosa, the Ministry of Health. Okay? And it is important to communicate the precautions that have been taken on behalf of Sentosa to prevent this and minimizing the risk from happening again. It is also important to communicate the precautions that customers themselves must take to avoid being targeted by this virus. If the test results are negative, then all the merrier. Because you don't have to worry. However, you should still release some sort of service announcement, letting individuals know that there is a string of tests going around. There have been so far 24 for the one virus and 11 for the H7N9. It should not, and none of them turn out positive. This is something that should be noted, so that people understand that the chances of you subtracting anything are low. And it is also a chance for Sentosa to communicate that precautions are being taken to ensure that everyone is safe and sound.
So in terms of large-scale events, you mentioned that it's very important that, with events coming up in the future, you need to notify these guests. So what we're recommending is that you continue with your current procedure and you have the thermal scanners set up, and then you're also notifying them that this virus is going around, and I'm sure they're aware of it. So what we're telling you is that you should have voluntary guest lists for events that are unpaid, because you don't know who's going to be coming and when they're going to be coming. Then you'll have required guest lists for events that are paid. And this will ensure that you know who is coming to the island, and if there is a virus outbreak, you'll know who to contact in the future. And in terms of shutting down the island, just because of this virus, we highly recommend that you don't do that unless there's a direct request from the government to do that. Since every single attraction around the island will be experiencing the same thing as you, it will not be uncommon for guests to go to an attraction and feel like, the attraction is taking extra precautions. So that's our recommendation for this situation. We'll now be open for questions.
So one of your first recommendations is to get that delegation tested. What happens if they say no? Because they are a foreign government.
That's a risk you just have to accept. If they say no, then you have to test all of the staff and continue with the original plan.
Do you think you can make use of any of the existing infrastructure within the traffic?
Definitely, we thought of that in the long term. With the current infrastructure right now, the assistance that it will provide is be minimal. You can do analysis on where guests are going on that particular day. So what were the most popular attractions? Where did the delegation go? And then somehow, find some of the guests that could have been involved. But right now, there's no way with the existing infrastructure to know who was where at what time. In the future, if you go along with our recommendation and improve the Sentosa Lens mobile application, you'll be able to gain more information on more guests, thereby being able to see the flow of guests and the probability that some of these guests may have the virus. But this is in the future. With the existing infrastructure, it'll be very difficult to know, who is around.
So this is about the guest, but what about the birds? What about if the guest on the island gets the virus through the birds, which is mentioned? What will you do?
Yeah, so as Cal was mentioning previously, you don't want to shut down the entire park if there's a virus outbreak, but if it is the case of the birds, they're in the nature area of the park, and this isn't an area of a lot of revenue generation. So in that case, if there was an outbreak with the birds, it would be okay to shut down the nature area of the park because it wouldn't heavily affect your bottom lines. You could let people know not to go there.
What if the virus is passing to the guest from the birds?
That would be dealt with on an individual basis. And of course, like, you would increase your precautions, testing points, temperature scanning, all of these things to prevent that from happening. But again, that would be dealt with on an individual basis, and precautions would be taken in advance.
And what about building the list of the guests who may have come in contact with that specific guest?
In terms of the birds, there's no way to know what bird is where at what time.
Guest. The guests who are coming in contact with the contaminated guest, or the one who is carrying the virus now.
Well, like you said, the first thing you want to do is test the delegation as well as test the staff. Right now, there's no way to know who this delegation came in contact with. Therefore, you don't have a list of guests, right? So it's difficult to know who they came in contact with. Of course, to release this press release, if one of the delegation was found positive, we release this targeted release to people who were on the island during that time and highly advise them to attend the Ministry of Health to be tested. That's the only possible way that we see it is feasible at this time.
So if the delegate is really tested positive and we're required, Sentosa is required to do contact tracing, how do you suggest that we do that contact tracing?
We recommend that you use your existing social media and website channels because you don't know exactly who they are. It's impossible to find that out at this point in time with the IT infrastructure that you have. But what you can do is send out a specific message that basically says, if you were in this area at this time, please report back to us and we'll let you know the appropriate steps to guide you through proper healthcare precautions. That's what we can do right now.
If you know there's a risk and people are coming into the island during this time period where there's a risk, what extraordinary measures can you take to get more information on who's coming onto the island?
An option is, definitely with people coming to the island, you will have these checkpoints set up with thermal scanning. So what you can do is get people to sign in as they come into the island. And I'm sure every other attraction will be taking this precaution, so we'll be able to help them out.